Culpepper, Virginia, is a rural town some 75 miles southwest of Washington, D.C. It prides itself on being one of Virginia's prime new business locations. In July of 2007, on a hillside on the outskirts of the town, a massive new building complex was opened as a satellite branch of the immense Washington-based Library of Congress. This is an aerial view of the facility under construction in 2006, showing the semicircular front and roof of the three-story main building with two long arms extending out from the rear to the right and left, containing the services plant and collection areas with vast underground storage vaults. This view of the Central Conservation Building shows the circular reflecting pool in front of the three-tiered, high-windowed facade behind which is the striking atrium on the first floor, with administrative and lab offices on the upper levels. It is called the Packard Campus of the National Audio-Visual Conservation Center of the Library of Congress in honor of philanthropist David Woodley Packard and his Packard Humanities Institute, which purchased the 75-acre site on the side of Mount Pony and oversaw the design and construction of the entire facility, which has now been donated to the library. The grounds leading from the parking area to the main entranceway on the side of the central building are planted with small saplings carefully wrapped to protect their buds from hungry deer. Because the Robbins Barstow collection of 20th century family home movies is now stored here in this Culpeper facility, I had a particular interest in viewing it at this early date, while still a work in progress, accompanied by my wife Meg and our son Daniel. In the grand lobby, reception area, and exhibit hall, just inside the entrance, we had the pleasure of meeting Gregory Lukow, the director of the center and chief of the library's Motion Picture, Broadcasting, and Recorded Sound Division. Gregory praised the vision of Librarian of Congress Dr. James H. Billington and many others for bringing this unique government-private partnership to fulfillment, and pointed out that when fully implemented, this new National Center for Audio-Visual Conservation will be the largest and most sophisticated preservation and storage facility for moving images and recorded sound in the world. Another staff person whom I talked with in the lobby was Jane Otto, an archivist who's responsible for cataloging moving image collections on a global basis.
Archive directory, so you can go in and find an archive that holds moving images. You can find the films that those organizations hold, and then you can get all this information about moving images and their preservation.
That's tremendous. One of the very special features of this great modern facility, located just off the main lobby on the main floor, with a beautifully designed entranceway which includes ample space for displaying colorful posters, is a cozy, old-fashioned 200-seat theater for projecting selected films to private and public audiences. The theater was designed by David Packard of the Packard Humanities Institute and has comfortable seats, a wide screen, and a hidden organ which can be raised up from underneath the stage to provide accompaniment for silent films. Our host and guide for this introductory tour was Dr. Mike Machon, the head of the Moving Image section of the Library of Congress.
The National Audiovisual Conservation Center in Culpepper, Virginia. We also refer to it as the Packard Campus, because now the National Audiovisual Conservation Center actually exists in two places, our reading room in Capitol Hill and here in Culpeper, Virginia. Most of my colleagues, frankly, worked in.
After being shown all around the top two floors, we stopped for a brief respite in the specially designed employee atrium with skylights for a ceiling, providing an ideal, open, bright, and relaxing place for a staff lounge. The third floor houses the sound, film, and video laboratories, where the state-of-the-art technologies being implemented are unprecedented in scale and unmatched in their capabilities anywhere else in the world. The second floor contains the recorded sound division along with an administrative suite, and the first floor is devoted to the work of acquiring, organizing, preserving, and making accessible the library's monumental collection of moving images, film, video, and digital. The radial area of the building has open office interiors with multiple cubicles for present and future staff. At the end of rows and rows of workspaces adjacent to the main lobby, there's a glass-contained circular office which Mike occupies. The nonprofit Center for Home Movies, organized a few years ago under the leadership of Dwight Swanson, and which sponsors annual home movie days around the country, has established a cooperative working relationship with the Library of Congress, with the library agreeing to provide access to a workspace cubicle here on the Packard campus.
Robbins, this is an area of the type of cubicle that we'll provide for the Center for Home Movies. You see, we already have a computer and a monitor there.
Great.
They'll be attached to several printers that we have here. And just have access to all the other material that we have. You know, we're providing courtesy storage for the Center for Home Movies collection. So not only supplies, but also some processing help and an area over in the vaults for people.
That's great.
Yeah.
Mike asked one of his staff members, Amy Gallick, a film preservation specialist, to show us the film collection areas and storage vaults when he had to go greet the National Film Preservation Board, which was meeting at the new center for the first time this day. Amy took us down in the elevator to the underground storage facilities where thousands and thousands of original film materials, including highly inflammable nitrate films from the movie's early days, are stored in secure, temperature-controlled vaults, as well as on walls and walls of specially designed shelves and compartments to be preserved for the future. The facility has been built to provide sufficient space to house projected collections growth for at least 25 years. Concluding our visit, Mike explained that much of their work in the future will involve new technologies for transferring original analog films to new digital formats, enabling students and the public access to collection materials through having the moving images transmitted electronically to the library's main room.
So my family loves going out there. And
Isn't your daughter the horse?
she rides horses. Her horse is about 10 minutes that way.
Yeah.
My house is 5 minutes that way. It's not a bad deal.
The Packard campus is by no means fully staffed yet, but Mike loves working here, overseeing the preservation for future generations of more than 1 million items in the moving image collections, including home movies such as those in the Robbins Barstow collection. What does the Robbins Barstow collection consist of? It's a set of 12 storytelling family film productions made over 7 decades from the 1930s to the 1990s, all filmed, directed, and edited and titled on a strictly amateur basis by Dr. Robbins Barstow of Wethersfield, Connecticut, now an 88-year-old retired educator. They vary in length, but the first short program of family film products was made in the 1930s in Hartford, Connecticut, where Robbins and his 2 younger brothers grew up. The second program, Tarzan in the Rocky Gorge, is an original teenage adventure epic which I filmed on location in Granby, Connecticut at the age of 16, way back in 1936. It's now becoming something of a cult classic. Honeymoon Capers was filmed in Fairleigh, Vermont in September 1942, following the marriage of Margaret Louise Vanderbeek and Robbins Wilkett Barstow Jr. in Plainfield, New Jersey. The first of 3 historic family chronicles is The Way We Started Out, from 1942 to 51, including the birth of our 3 children, Mary, David, and Daniel, and our final move to the Hartford suburb of Wethersfield, Connecticut. When We Were Very Young tells the story of the children growing up here during the 1950s, a decade of creative family fun. The third chronicle, Teen Years in Wethersfield, covers the 1960s with scenes from the lives of Mary, David, and Daniel and their graduations from Wethersfield High School. The gem of this collection, however, is called Disneyland Dream, a 1956 true-life adventure tale of our family winning a nationwide contest for a free week-long trip to Walt Disney's newly opened Disneyland in Anaheim, California, a real home movie classic. After that, for 5 summers, from 1957 to 61, we went on family camping trips through all 48 of the contiguous United States. Part 1 explores America's history, mostly in the East, and Part 2 is America's wonderlands, mostly in the West, including visits to 18 national parks. Jumping next to the 1980s, with the children all grown up and out on their own, we have a colorful travelogue of Robbins and Meg's trip to spectacular Norway and Sweden in 1982 to celebrate their 40th anniversary. 10 years later, in 1992, we had the fun of touring Paris with 2 grandchildren, Jeffrey and Susanna, plus a full family reunion in France's capital city of lights, celebrating our 50th wedding anniversary. The final production is a cinematic autobiography, 80 years, filmed recollections of a full life, which I assembled to celebrate my 80th birthday in October 1999. These are the filmed voyages of the Robbins Barstow family of Wethersfield, Connecticut, USA, now deposited within the National Moving Image Collection of the Library of Congress as important documents of 20th century American life to be preserved for future generations.
Many of Robbins Barstow's original films are now available on the Barstow Travel Adventure Films channel on YouTube. Click here to subscribe to the channel. You will find blockbusters like Disneyland Dream and Tarzan and the Rocky Gorge, early films from the 1930s and 40s, family stories from the 50s and 60s, and travel films from the United States and around the world.